So this is your father's book, A Life on the Limit, and it's very interesting. Is your grandfather helpful in this, like your father's getting into racing?
Because he was an apprentice at Smith's Industries, and someone opened a newspaper and there's an advertisement for a bobber lap around Brands Hatch, and he put down 4 bob, which gave him 4 laps, and he drove around Brands and he said the bug bit, and that was it. That's all he wanted to do, was to race. And so he put in his job, left his job, went and signed on the social services, and they said, "What's your occupation?" He said, "Racing driver." And they didn't have any jobs for any racing drivers. And he did what he could to get into motoring. And he'd cycle. My mother was living with her mother, my grandmother, in South London, and he had a bike, and he would turn up for breakfast to Mrs. S. My grandmother was Mrs. Shoebrook, my mother's mother, and Mrs. S. would feed my father. Then he'd cycle all the way to Brands, and he would just hang around. One day, someone had a van, and they said, "Well, I'll give you a lift back." So my father got in the van, and then Colin got in the van as well. So the 3 of them are sitting in the front of the van. The person thinks that my father is friendly with Colin, and Colin thinks that my father is friendly with a friend. But they don't really know him, and that's how my father met Colin. And Colin said, "Well, come and do some work for me. I can't pay you, but maybe I'll be able to give you a job." And that's how it started.
I don't remember precisely how much he started to gain when he was with Colin Chapman, but he was surprised because he used to gain basically nothing with his old job. So when Colin Chapman gave him a little bit more of money, he was surprised a lot.
It meant a
and
lot
he didn't
to him.
believe.
Yes, yeah. He was finally being paid for doing what he loved.
You just talked about Colin Chapman, and he gave him the first chance to race. But I wanted to know, how was the relationship also when Graham started to get into F1?
When my father joined Lotus, they were both Colin and my father were totally focused on winning and driving the best car possible. They were both engineers, and I think that Colin it was his baby, but it was also my father's car. He wanted to win, so they had a sort of very dynamic relationship between them to get the best out of the car, and they were both engineers. That was fascinating.
I wanted to know how your father started to get into driving road cars, obviously, because he was driving Formula 1 cars and other cars, but I know that he didn't have a road car for a lot of time, so I wanted to know.
That's right, he got a bit fed up riding a bike, and so he bought himself a very, very second-hand Austin Chummy, and he drove it home. It had no brakes. These things never stop my father. So he parked it so the wheels were pointing into the curb so it wouldn't go anywhere. And then he decided that he should go and pass his driving test.
So I've interviewed Mario Andretti, and he told me about your father and how funny he was as a person. Obviously, you said to me that he always liked his teammates, but I wanted to know if he had some particular stories with Mario in his F1 career.
I was very young at the time,
yeah.
So I don't know of the stories that my father had with Mario, except to say that my father had doors put on the toilets at Indianapolis because he liked privacy. But I do know that Mario had a black pig, which he loved very, very much. And the black pig, he built little ramps for his black pig in his home, so the black pig could go up into the home, and he absolutely adored his black pig.
Obviously, your brother Damon was an F1 driver. He also won one championship, but I wanted to know how did he get into racing, like he's seen the history of his father and he wanted to keep that going, or he just liked racing?
Well, both my father and brother loved riding bikes, and my father was given 2 Bultaco trials bikes by Count Bultaco in Spain, and so my father and brother would go off and ride in the woods, and you know, sort of, they absolutely loved it. My father actually took my brother to Count Bultaco's estate in Spain, and they did a lot of trials together over that time. So petrol is in his veins, it's in my veins as well, and then Damon started to race bikes. My mother got very worried that he was getting too good, because bikes are, you know, dangerous. And I remember we were all at a race that Damon was on his motorbike, racing bike, and he came off and the zip broke. So the leathers almost came off, and then he broke his collarbone, and it was just sort of, you know, so my mother sent him to the Winfield Racing School, Mike, and she said, just see how Damon does on the circuit. And he did, and then Damon finished, and my mother said to Mike, does he have it? And Mike said, yes, he's got it.
Fun fact, always in this book, there is a part in which Graham was in a race while your brother was born, and he said, when he seen him, he said that it cannot be possible that he looked so bad and because obviously
babies are not very pretty when they're born.
This photo.
Oh yes, look, that's Samantha.
Yeah.
Yes, it's my sister. Down the go-karting. Yeah, it's a big shunt there. This, Tony.
Yeah.
And Joe Bonnier was my brother's godfather. And Le Mans 24 Hour was also a very great victory, but Joe was killed at Le Mans 24 Hour. The dangerous times. Tony was phenomenal. He and my father were with BRM, and BRM, they won BRM's first, only world championship together. And Tony had actually been an apprentice in the 1930s to Rolls-Royce, and then the war started, and he was in bombers which had 4 Merlin engines, and I think he was a navigator, and he would sit in the bomber flying over, you know, and he could hear when an engine wasn't performing properly. He could hear the sound. And then when the war ended, he went back to Rolls-Royce, and they sent him to BRM to work on supercharged projects. And that's how Tony came to be at BRM. And my father and he were really, really close. And they talked the same language, they're the same focus. And Tony was a highly successful, one of our greatest engineers ever. And you can see how close they are.
Yeah.